Who here remembers the good old days? The early 2000s. A weird time where any video game that came out had the potential to be great. A weird time where the WWE games were in competition with the Call of Duty games for Game of the Year. A weird time where any new game mechanic could revolutionize gaming as a whole. A time where we made video games off of movies that just came out with the same exact story and people bought them. Not only did we buy them, but we loved them. This was the Wild West of modern gaming, and ever so often, one entity stood above the rest and became a legend. And today we're going to be talking about one of these legends, why it was so good, and why a lot of people never heard about it. Today we're talking about Barnyard, the best movie-based video game that will ever come out. And yes, guys, I am 100% serious about this. Do you guys remember this game? I'm talking to you, late 90s, early 2000s kids. You know that game we referred to our friends as GTA for kids? The game that was so unexpectedly good that when you rented it from Blockbuster, you never let your siblings play it. And when you went to return it, you just went over to your local GameStop or EB Games to purchase it. Those were the good old days. You see, this was a game that a lot of people unfortunately never heard about. Bad reviews on the movie it's based on hurt this game before it even released. And to make matters worse, back when this game first came out, video game snobs who I believe never actually played this game in the first place, review bombed this into oblivion. But oddly, if you look at the user review, you will notice a almost perfect score. A 4.9, you say? I don't think I've ever seen a 4.9 in the user reviews. In fact, I don't know of one person who's played this game and didn't enjoy it, especially if you were born in the early 2000s, late 90s like I was. In fact, just like the movie, this game was hammered by critics, and yet it was so good. It's one of those rare times where you just listen to the local people instead of the critics. So, what made this game so great? Well, a lot of things. And for those of you who have already played this game, you know what's up. I'm here to put you down nostalgia road, and I'm gonna try my darndest to explain why this game was such a legend. And if I miss anything or you wanted to add something, please let me know it down in the comments below. I will make an asserted effort to respond to each and every one of them, at least for the first year this video is out. Anyways, to talk about this game, let's go back in time. Let's talk about movie games. If you are under the age of 18, you will likely have no idea what a movie game is. Obviously, it's a game based off of a movie, but you have no idea what these games are like. Just to give you an idea, imagine rewatching a movie, but the story was told in a much worse way. But you can play it. Most of them gameplay-wise were kind of a Spyro ripoff, where you just were in a linear, open-ish level. You collect gems or whatever, find a secret or two, then move on to the next area. Rinse and repeat, and you very, very loosely follow the story of the movie you just saw 4 months prior. This sounds horrible by today's standards, trust me, I know, but back then it was actually not that terrible, especially for kids. It gave you something to do, and you could be in the universe of one of your favorite movies. And some of these games were actually pretty damn good, like the Shrek games, but for the most part they were all very linear, mindless games. They did take a lot of creative differences from the movies to add more stuff to do, but for the most part the main story was told in the same way, just a lot worse, and a lot of times without even the same voice actors as the movie. I'm looking at you, Ice Age 2. Anyways, so now I want you to imagine one of these games was an open world RPG. Think if Fable 1 and Bully had a baby, and then that baby had a baby with Back at the Barnyard. You would end up with this game. The main story of this game was that of the movie, but it was told in a completely different way, and it was done better. To help you imagine the structure of this game, think Red Dead Redemption, where you have the main story, but you're not stuck to just doing the main story. You can go wherever you want and do whatever you want in the map, and you'll find a lot of side quests, flowers to pick, and secrets to find along the way. The further you go down the main story, the more opportunities, game mechanics, and side quests pop up. This, to a lesser degree, is basically how Barnyard operated. And I know it doesn't sound like much today, but remember, games back then did not play like this. There were exceptions, but most of the games in the early 2000s 2000s, especially ones made for kids, were one linear path you followed to the end, and that was it. For a lot of kids like myself, this was the first experience with an RPG you were gonna get. Going from a glorified on-rail platformer to a fully fledged congruent game was life-altering, to say the least. Not only are you in this expansive game, but for once you weren't just playing as one of the main characters following down a set path made by the movie. No, this time you were your own non-canon customizable cow thrown into the thick of it. And this was a stroke of genius at the time made by the developers. Now the player is freed from all the guardrails that the movie games had previously. Now you can make your own decisions and do what you want. You can upgrade your cow, putz around with the main characters, buy stuff. Yes, this game actually has its own currency system that you use to purchase or sell things to the gophers at the top of the hill. Like better equipment, better bikes, consumables, you name it. And an added bonus of being your own customizable character is that it adds a much deeper connection to the game. It just feels so much easier to immerse yourself, and it adds a lot of possibility for satisfying upgradability. This is leagues above anything previous movie games have done. This beats the hell out of collecting nuts as the squirrel from Ice Age. Just like in the movie, this game starts off in a very light tone. Everyone's just goofing off, having fun, helping Otis and his friends with their crazy shenanigans, playing mini games. By the way, the mini games in this game are fantastic. You got darts, pool, this one mini game where you get style points for stunting on that crazy bitch in the window without having her husband see you. There's this one I also refer to as the wipeout mini game, or you could just straight up hijack some guy's truck and race it down the road while getting chased by the cops. This game was crazy. It was made for kids, but it didn't make you feel like a kid. Making you really feel like you're part of the Barnyard and not just watching it. And making you feel like you're playing something you're not supposed to. These are some of the things this game does incredibly well. And even as an adult now, looking back at this game, it looks fun as hell. I just wish I could actually purchase the game and play it again. And when it comes to story, it all follows the movie, but the creative differences made for the game actually enhance the overall story in my opinion. The best parts of the Barnyard movie was the first 20 minutes, and then it got really serious and drab. When it comes to the game, about 75% of it is goofing off with your animal companions and playing mini games before the major mood swing change happens when the coyotes attack. All the voice actors are correct, and the performances are not too shabby. And they did a Dead Rising 1 when it came to in-game dialogue. Having the voice actors say the very first couple of words in each interaction and then rolling out into text. I don't know what it is about this, but I really like it stylistically. It's a great way of putting the correct voice in your head when you read the text. And this was a great way to cut back on costs as well, because all of these are actual voice actors and they had to be paid. So the smaller the workload, the less money they had to spend. Barnyard had more love and attention to detail put into it than any game around it in its market. A fully imagined segmented open world map that leads all the way from the Barnyard to the swamplands, through the junkyard, all the way up to the suburbs and a pristine golf course. The only games you could compare it to at this time were adult games like Fable and Oblivion. And remember, the early 2000s were a time where you couldn't just play rated M games as a child like you can today. You actually got ID'd at GameStop and Blockbuster for games. And there wasn't a chance in hell parents back in the day were gonna let you play these games. Much unlike how it is today, where 5-year-olds are destroying you in Warzone and GTA 5. This is a movie game about barn animals that has about as much content as 5 normal games at the time. A game that had no expectations and blew everyone out of the water who tried it. This is why Barnyard is, and always will be, the best movie-based video game. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends, help this channel grow. And if you want to see more videos that I've done kind of like this, click here or here. Here, this one of these. Anyways, thank you guys once again. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video.